Sometimes stories need to be told, and it's not so much that somebody needs to hear them, it's that the person that is telling it needs to tell it.
The story being expressed began in 1988 when I first stepped foot within the walls of prison gates surrounded by barbed wire, police in green suits, and gun towers.
We did see this growth, this elevation of spirit, you know, this creative force start to blossom.
I've been in prison for 14 years and I haven't had the opportunity to use the tools that you guys brought here. During this pilot project, I started to tap into different parts of my creativity that I didn't really know that were there.
These are people that have experienced a tremendous amount of trauma and that are still able to be human.
Play music, you know, it's a good outlet. It actually takes me out of here for a good, 3 hours that I'm here, so it's actually, yeah, it's real sensational.
Ese tipo de comentarios a este proyecto y a este trabajo pues le daban ese toque milagroso.
Where you are today is the result of about 8 weeks of conversation and relationship building and community building. Our participants performing with Street Symphony through Music for Change.
I believe that this is the most important work that Street Symphony gets to do in this community. We've been part of the Skid Row community for about 8 years now, but we've never had a conversation that has involved such intentional clinical guidance. And so with that, I'd like to bring up Mick, who's going to share some of his work with us.
People that know me, they know me as Mickey. And I feel real fortunate today because 6 months ago, I was sitting within prison, doing a lot of writing in my cell, reflecting, and it shows up in a lot of my poetry. And I'm feeling real fortunate to be amongst all of you guys and being able to share my piece. And I had become so comfortable within that madness, it was as if I had gone to college. In the dysfunction, I had gotten a degree.
My name's Corey, I'm recently released. I've been out roughly 4 months. Right. I am a ex-lifer. I'm gonna be doing a poem that I wrote. It's called Senses of Addiction. I struggled with addiction for 20 years of my life.
Corey and I have collaborated on this project. A couple weeks ago, I offered a piece of music called Sept Papillon, which translates to 7 butterflies. And we talked about how a butterfly, in order to transform from a caterpillar to a butterfly, literally needs to engouge itself, eat itself up inside a cocoon, and to be reborn as a butterfly. And we talked about topics of the redemption and healing in that kind of context. Afterwards, Corey came up to me and said, I want to set my poems to this music. And listening to his words has actually completely shifted and changed the way I view this piece and view myself as a cellist. So I want to thank Corey for letting me share this moment with him.
It's the scent of vinegar, only I can smell. I can see my reflection in the steel. With each cut, the pain seeps away.
I went to prison for 30 years and 44 days. Fortunately, at the same time, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation was coming on board with some rehabilitative programs. I took full advantage of that. As I say, a light came on for me and I followed that light. And down the Via Dolorosa in Jerusalem that day. And down the Via Dolorosa called the way of suffering. Like a lamb came the Messiah.
If someone else agrees or disagrees, that really does not concern me. Because this ain't about no one else. It's about me setting my own mind, heart, body free. And though I've used other unhealthy methods in the past, today I just choose to use poetry.
This is a place to transition, not just from a cell to a room to an apartment somewhere, but to transition from who you were and undo the monster that you had become and step up and take your divine and rightful place and move into the future with dignity. For that, I am grateful.
people of all cultures, all genders, all races. It crosses borders, invades schools, families, homes, cities. The face of trauma changes. Sometimes it looks like a terrified child hiding under a table, afraid of touch, afraid to trust. Other times it looks like an aggressive teenager, afraid to feel, afraid to appear weak. Sometimes it looks like an overachieving adult who fills their life with noise, afraid of the silence, afraid to be still. These faces, whatever their age, whatever their gender, whatever their socioeconomic class or culture, represent experiences. Experiences of pain, experiences of strength, experiences of shame, experiences of victory. Each face represents a story. Storiez is an intervention created by me, Dr. Megan Corrado, as a way to help traumatized youth and other individuals who've experienced difficult life experiences to create, voice, and honor their life stories. Create. There is something healing about the act of creating. To take something ordinary and breathe new life into it. To take something broken and to turn it into something beautiful. Creativity is healing. It helps us express feelings, understand ourselves, understand life and the world around us. Unfortunately, for many youth who have experienced trauma, their opportunities for creativity are hard to come by. They have to devote so much time and energy to surviving that they're unable to creatively explore. Storiez gives youth a chance to create, to expressively talk about their life experiences, to voice their unique perspectives. Voice. Some voices are loud, some voices are quiet, some voices are bold, others are timid. Unfortunately for many youth, their voices go unheard. Our larger culture doesn't have a place for the voices of youth, or if there is a place for their voices, there are certain conditions that youth must meet. Conditions like, don't say it that way, say it quieter, say it calmer, don't say that too loudly, don't say it too boldly, say it this way, say it that way. Storiez provides youth with the opportunity to voice their stories, using words, using dance, using music, using proper language, or using slang. They're able to express and voice their life experiences in whatever way makes the most sense for them. Honor. Traumatized youth have experienced pain, shame, fear, abandonment. Yet in the face of all of these experiences, they somehow find the strength to keep going. This is worthy of honoring. Traumatized youth are amazingly resilient. What is resilience? Resilience is the ability to bounce back, to heal, to get back up again when life has knocked them down. Storiez honors people's sources of inner resilience. It celebrates their ability to survive incredible hardship. Storiez provides youth with the opportunity to voice their stories, to have their thoughts and feelings acknowledged.
When a person decides to change, they want everyone to know that they've changed. So it's important for them to get that out. Television portrays prison as this negative place where people just are running around being violent, but San Quentin is actually totally opposite from that. The guys are going to college every day. They're going to self-help groups. They're going to religious services. Everyone here is trying to get out of prison, not stay in prison.
Cut me down, G. All right, y'all. Back in action, everybody. I got to San Quentin in 1984 via LA County Jail. Now, I was told that...
Since 2012, we've been working on a storytelling project. And really, the overarching idea is to tell the hidden stories of life inside, told from the perspective of those who live it.
As soon as I got out the bus, I got extra chilly and cold because I wasn't wearing underwear. See, that's how they transported us back in the day. Butt naked with a red jumpsuit. So if the bus crashed or you escaped, you came out the jumpsuit, you'd be running around naked.
This project was put together by the San Quentin Media Production team.
I can't joke. I'm nervous. That's what this is.
We all come up with these ideas and help the men edit the stories and present them.
So I covered myself in tattoos of hate and violence.
And it gives other guys who may sit back and not really want to be out on the spotlight, it gives them a little more courage to say, okay, well, I might be able to do that one day.
And more than anything, that really scared me.
I think it also makes vulnerability look okay. Because if you can be vulnerable in front of this group and tell your story, it's another way of breaking down the barrier.
People was bullying me in school. And because I didn't want to disappoint my pops and get kicked out, I took it. And at that moment, I turned around and I walked away and a tear came on my eye because I thought, like, what I done got myself into.
I hate mornings. There's nothing worse than waking up from your dreams to a cell whose 6x9 confines stretch into the horizons of your future. It's like waking up in a tomb. It's a reminder that to society, your family, your friends, to your high school sweetheart, you're dead.
People have their own preconceptions about what people in prison are about. And I think these pieces break down those walls. It's more complex than what your prejudices are.
I believe in art as a human right. I believe that art has the power to promote radical healing and connection, and that everyone should have access to that. And they're the thing that gives us life and gives us a possibility to understand who we are and what we mean in the world. And so to me, I feel that everyone should have access to that, and they can do whatever it is that they want with it. Maybe they won't all become an artist or a musician or a dancer, but maybe they'll understand more about who they are and what they mean and why they're here on this planet.
I started drawing cards for my kids early into my life sentence, and I really didn't know how to develop or create art. I've always enjoyed looking at art from an early age, but I was a little intimidated by trying to approach, larger pieces. But a friend of mine started showing me some of the ways to look at it and how to approach it and develop it and build paintings, and I consider this to be the pivotal point in transforming my life, because I finally realized that I didn't need drugs day by day to make it. I just needed a paintbrush or some color pencils. I felt it was a gift he had given to me, and I just wanted to share this with other people, so I started teaching people how to do portraits. And I was involved with a lot of self-help therapy groups, and while I was encouraging and supporting the guys in the groups, I was also doing the same thing through the art.
Okay, so our program is special because we are a group who loves what we do and works together and helps one another. And it feels sometimes kind of utopic because these types of things don't exist that often in this world, and so I feel really fortunate to be a part of it. I feel really privileged to work alongside the folks that I do work with, whether they're students or some of our incarcerated peer leaders who are some of the most powerful teachers I've seen.
In 2013, I reached out to the warden and asked her to allow us to have an art program. That we had a lot of talent on the yard, and invited Professor Andy Buckley to come in and to develop a pilot program. And thus the Prison Arts Collective was formed through the community-based art. And we've been operating ever since. I believe our first class was like 90 people, the first group of guys. It was huge.
It was huge, I remember
so
that.
We generated the interest on the yard and told everybody what was coming. Everyone was excited. It was a brand new program. And you essentially pretty much carried the program. You didn't have the funding, so I want to thank you for that. That was huge.
That's very kind of you, but it's also funny because I feel the exact same way. I know there was so much that you were doing on the inside that I'm so appreciative of, and I don't think that we would have developed to the point we are, because we started on this one yard with those 90 or so guys, and now we're in 8 institutions. We're going to be in 12 by 2020. So our curriculum is co-created between students, teaching artists, faculty, and incarcerated peer leaders or peer facilitators. It's also open source, and once it's completed and ready to be shared, we share it on a public platform on ScholarWorks. We have a few guidelines. We integrate art making, reflection or interpretation, and art history or cultural content into every single class. We also ask that the classroom environment be pivotal to the class itself, and so that we invite our participants to co-create an environment that feels safe and inclusive for everyone.
Remember who was using this one? Or you take a video, I'm sorry. Oh, no, I'm gonna mute it. The girl, not this one, the one that's sitting there. Okay. The one with the white. Do you think she's done with this color? Probably, okay.
Although I'm here to speak to you today, first, I want you to do something for me. Just sit back comfortably in your seat. Close your eyes for a second. I want you to think about your favourite song, or if music doesn't do it for you, think about a painting that you love, a book or a film that's made you laugh or cry. Just take a few moments to think about that. I see a few smiles in the room. Whatever your reaction to that, the thing that is true for all of us is that the arts make us feel something. So I want you to hold on to that thought, to that feeling as I talk to you today. About 2 years ago, I met a woman called Amanda. Amanda is roughly my age, about this tall. She's got masses of curly hair. And Amanda likes to tell me stories about her mischievous dog and the naughty antics that he seems to get up to on pretty much a daily basis. I met Amanda when she was in prison. She had been caught shoplifting some fairly high-value items and had been given a 6-month custodial sentence. When I met Amanda, she was just about coping okay with prison. But in the time that I've known her, I've watched her leave prison and struggle to find safe and secure accommodation. I've watched her struggle to find a job. I've watched her struggle with the stigma and the shame that she feels about what she's done. So I'm a psychologist and a researcher, and I spend quite a lot of my time working in the criminal justice system, trying to understand what might work best to help people live better lives and to move away from crime. So this means that while I work with some people who have done some quite bad things, I also work with some people who are really unwell, who are very vulnerable, who have led pretty rubbish lives. Helping people like Amanda is not only good for her and those people close to her, it's also good for society. And it's good in economic terms because prisons are really expensive to run. One of the things that I have found can be successful in helping people in this way is engagement with creative arts programs. Now, I know that might sound a bit strange, so let's explore this a bit. All of this is based on the fact that punishment in and of itself is ineffective, but that rehabilitation, so giving people the skills, the desire to live better lives, is the only route to successfully helping people move away from offending. But this can't happen in a vacuum. People who have been involved in criminal justice, just like every single one of us in this room, need relationships to flourish. So there are 3 key messages in this talk, and that was message 1. Relationships are vital to human flourishing. I'm currently working with 2 music programs. The first of those is for adults who have recently left prison, and they're returning to the community, and over a period of about 2 years, they form a band. A group of individuals come together and they write music and they perform in some fairly prestigious venues. The other program works with children and young people aged between about 10 and 18 years old. These young people are in contact with the Youth Offending Service. Many of them have recently left young offender institutions. And these 2 programs, working with adults and children, have a few things in common. They engage people in positive activity, which helps keep them away from crime. And we know that engagement in these kinds of positive activities is likely to then lead on to engagement with other positive activities. These programs provide a safe space away from everyday life challenges, and that's something that's missing for many of us, but particularly so for people involved in the criminal justice system. And these programs provide an outlet for emotions, particularly for negative emotions that in the past might have been channeled towards crime. And they improve people's mental health and well-being. So I've seen Amanda go from being a shell, a shadow of her former self, too anxious to speak to anyone. I've seen her then start to come alive again as she sings, and week by week start to be able to communicate and to tell her story. So that was message 2. The arts can be a catalyst for positive personal change. There are a number of factors that can help promote some of this change, this improvement in health and well-being, helping people lead better lives. But we know that the relationships that form in those creative spaces are one of the biggest factors responsible for some of this. So in the 2 projects that I'm working with at the minute, we see that relationships form between the musicians, the facilitators, and the participants, and that those bonds, those relationships are trusting and respectful. We see that participants improve their social and communication skills, and we know that the development of these new relationships is likely to lead on to positive behavioural changes. So we see people feel better, we see people feel more connected, we see their lives start to change. And if we can see this for these individuals who are living right on the margins of society, well, what then can the rest of us take from this? We live in a society where social isolation and loneliness are rife. Loneliness is bad for our mental health, but is also really detrimental to our physical health. We're at a point where medics and researchers are telling us that current levels of loneliness are a public health emergency. So what can we learn? As a psychologist, my advice is really simple. Get out there, engage, participate with the arts, and you will see yourself flourish. Message 3. In criminal justice settings, most arts programs are run by charitable organisations. So we might see traditional arts programs, music, dance, drama, creative making, a wide range of experiences. Many of those organisations and organisations similar to them operate in our local communities, offering up similar sorts of experiences. So remember where we started this journey this afternoon. You thought about a song that you love, a music, a painting, a book. Remember how that made you feel something. And remember that those feelings underpin our connections with other human beings. Thank you.
5, 6, 7, 8, go step, grab, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
I was a gang member for over 20 years. In the yard, ripping and running, cutting, and now I changed.
You don't learn anything if you don't make mistakes in dance and in life.
I know after spending 17 years of incarceration how hard it is to dance in prison, and I do commend you guys for sticking through this project.
RTA, it saved my life.
I'm Catherine Vokins. I'm the founder and executive director of Rehabilitation Through the Arts.
My name is Charles Moore, and I have recently been promoted to operations manager for RTA.
RTA has been in 5 maximum and medium security facilities for, well, at least the last 10 years. RTA is about a process. It's about a process of workshops and getting in touch with yourself and being with people and learning new skills. And productions are a wonderful icing on the cake.
Slit. I'll after him again, and I'll beat him.
The goal of an arts program in prison is we use the creative arts to help change our participants' life in some way. We focus on soft skills such as communication, team building. Hopefully they'll improve their life while incarcerated so that they will better adjust and transition once they are released.
Yeah, just send them to me and I'll take care of it.
My personal experience helps me with working for RTA because I have the insight of once being a participant on the inside. I was at Sing Sing from 2000 to 2011 and Woodburn from 2000, and I got released May 31st, 2016. That's like 2 dates you never forget. I never forget my birthday and the day I got released. I grew up in Buffalo. Unfortunately, I grew up without parents. My mother was murdered when I was 3 years old. I don't know who my father is. I began to drink at an early age. I became an alcoholic by the time I was 18. My best friend growing up was my grandmother. That was my buddy. I had found out over the phone that my grandmother had died, and I got arrested and committed my crime maybe 4 months later, so that wasn't a good year. I came to prison at 34. I didn't have a high school diploma, and the first thing I did was get my GED, and I participated in their pre-college program, and I then signed up for every program that they had. In 2004, I joined RTA at Sing Sing Correctional Facility.
I saw pretty soon that Charles was not about acting, but what he was about solving problems. I love people who solve problems. I love people who think around corners. And his mindset was very different from a lot of people I've met inside the walls.
As far as I know, I'm the only one who was incarcerated in my family ever. And I'm the only one with a college education as well, so it kind of balances out.
When he was at Woodburn and had 5 years to do at Woodburn, I said, when you get out, if you want to work with RTA, we'd have a job for you. And that's how he came to us.
I think the most rewarding thing about the work that I do is actually being able to go back into the facilities. I could have been working anywhere, but I think it's to be appreciated by the guys and gals that are still incarcerated for me being able to come back in is very rewarding.
All right, we're ready? Let's go to our spots and stay where you are so I can see what we're working with. Hello, okay? Ready, 5, 6, 7. I've been teaching dance in prisons with RTA for 12 years. My favorite thing about teaching here is seeing the growth of the men from the beginning to the end.
Bethany Noel, she just blew them away. Not just with the dance, but that the amount of warm-up and calisthenics you have to do to be a dancer was like laid them out on the floor, which is where they started. So they got to know her as a disciplinarian. She is extremely professional.
Guys, listen to his question. No, first you're in line with your partner, and then you separate into the triangle spacing.
All right, that's unfair because I'm like, where am I going when I'm
where I'm supposed
So you might he might be moving forward and you might be staying where you are.
It means a lot to me to be able to like escape from my environment. Here I am and able to participate in something positive.
Go one.
And it makes it so much easier to not think about or worry about what's going to happen next, or, you know, I'm in a cage or whatever.
Spiral. Right stroke, boom. Oh, that was a mess, that was a mess, that was a mess. Let's go from the same part again.
It allows me to express myself. It's allowed me to be more patient with people. In this environment, you can kind of just be closed in and want to just be all on your own. But being in this dance group, it has allowed me to be more relaxed.
Break it in. Now really take your time here, push it out, and then you have all the time here.
I have been dancing since I was 16. I started as a street dancer. People could come to this class and break down the walls. And you don't have to be tense, worried about who's going to stab you in the back, in the yard. I get to express my inner feelings. So having dance inside a place like this is liberating.
Sometimes I get frustrated because you make the moves look easy, and my body don't move like your body moves. It's like I'm fighting through the whole situation. And you know, as I realize that I'm getting better and better, it's the same thing with life. Like, you gotta fight to live. And you know, the moment you stop fighting, you stop living.
Life is dance. Everything you do in life, you have to press through it. When we mess up on the steps, when we mess up on a grade, when we mess up on anything we do, we messed up to get here. Messed up in society, that's what brought us here. And this dance with RTA Workshop has made me appreciate life in this dungeon. This is not a fun place to be. I became a different person from being in this class.
Go 1, 2, 3, and out, out, sit down.
You know, RTA has always been a special place for myself and everyone who participates in it, because it's just very hard for people who do 10, 15, 20 years of incarceration. You lose hope probably on a daily basis.
I get to feel human again. So I get a chance to be myself without being looked at as stereotypic criminal.